Welcome to the Underlife. This I am calling the fish taco. I got this at a pet store near me, and I think that it's a prime example of typical aquarium decor. If you want hiding caves for your fish, you'll have pretty few options that don't mean just plunking down a static, tacky object in the middle of your underwater scene. But what if you could build with fish caves, using the same creative freedom as you have when stacking rock or driftwood hardscape? I decided to find out by designing a system of modular fish hiding spots and then working them into an aquascape scene like you would with any hardscape element.
I started by sketching some concepts for how these modules could look and function. Once I had some sketch concepts with a lot of potential, I made a simple model in CAD, 3D printed it, and then set up a little test scene to see how the modules look as a family. After about 3 months of fussing over every detail, I made a few more prototypes. Once I was satisfied, I brought these modular fish hiding spots into existence. I printed them using renewable PLA bioplastic, and the prints you're seeing here took about 20 hours total. Once the modules functioned exactly how I wanted them to, it was time to set these up in an aquascape. For this project, I ordered one of the highest quality small aquariums you can get, and I was thrilled before I even got a single rock or stick in there. Usually it takes a rock or stick to get me excited, and this time it was just glass, so I'm advancing. It's so beautiful. Holding with one hand is stupid, but I'm doing it anyway. It smells like a flip-flop. Got our foam mat here. This is so nice. It's crazy how much a glass box can excite. Takes just the right weirdos. Time to start building. First thing into the aquarium was a layer of aquasoil. This helps to give the aquatic plants a good base of nutrients to draw from. Then I started exploring what interesting relationships I could create between classic Siriu stone and the modules. My goal was to really embed the modules within the hardscape and make them look as integrated with the natural scene elements as possible. I built up stones and modules one by one and really just felt out how each new piece fit with the last. My main goal as far as overall layout was to create a large mountain on the right and a smaller one on the left, and to really get the soil sloped up toward the back. Sloping the soil helps to make the aquarium appear deeper than it is. Here is the completed stone and module hardscape duo. To hold everything into place and prevent a rock slide, I wedged cotton between the cracks and soaked it with super glue. I took some measurements for replacing the styrofoam I put up front, trimmed the fire tower style legs I put on this back group of modules, created a rocky base layer for a sandy area that I was planning to have, and still had time to create trees. Pinky out because this is one fancy ass aquascape. Once I replaced the styrofoam spacers, the hardscape was ready, and it was time to start planting. I first prepped the soil by spraying it with a spray bottle. I was only a few spritzes in, and the spray bottle decided to quit on me forever. I continued wetting the soil, and then began planting a Monte Carlo carpet. Once I finished adding Monte Carlo, I started planting HC Cuba, also known as dwarf baby tears. I added the dwarf baby tears toward the back of the aquarium, since it looks pretty much like a smaller leafed version of Monte Carlo. This enhances the aquascape's sense of depth by making it feel like things are getting really small in the distance. I was having a lot of fun and could have gone all night, but decided to stop making false promises to my wife that I'd go to bed.
I gotta finish planting this plant and then I'm gonna just quit.
I should have done an hour ago.
The next day, I added pearlweed to the carpet. I put the pearlweed toward the front corners of the aquarium because I knew this is where the plants would get the least amount of light, and pearlweed can tolerate fairly low light levels. I think that having a mixed carpet creates a more natural look to an aquarium because when you go out in nature, you rarely see just one plant on the forest floor. It's a mix. I added a bit of dwarf hairgrass to round out the mixed carpet and pushed a crazy amount of root tabs beneath the substrate to keep everything nourished. I added moss to the hardscape using superglue and made sure to attach it to the modules as well as the mountains. This helps the modules to really appear like they've been a part of the landscape for a long time and are fully one with the scene. I also tried attaching moss to the trees using superglue, and it looked scragglier than I wanted, so I switched to attaching it with green thread. Because of the large amount of carpeting plants in this aquarium, I decided to try the dry start method. Plants like I used here have very small roots, and if I were to fill the aquarium fully straight after planting them, I would risk them floating up to the surface. And dry start method allows them to get their roots down into the soil and anchor themselves before the water is filled up to the top. This method is also said to speed the growth of the plants by giving them more access to CO2, although I found that the plants grew a lot faster once I actually filled the aquarium. After about a week of misting the plants and removing excess water, I noticed some leaves melting away while small new leaves were starting to form. To keep any mold from growing during the dry start process, I added mold-eating springtails. This was my first time using springtails, and I couldn't see any in the container. I really wasn't sure how to add them at first. Okay, after some quick research, I found that the best way, apparently, to get them out of here is to fill the container with water, and the springtails will float to the top. Now it just looks like I have a bunch of mud. Oh, I think I see a couple. There we go. To my relief, I had not just spent my hard-earned money on a cup of dirt. I spent it on a cup of dirt and bugs. I also ordered a few more creatures, which you'll see more of later. After about a month and an added pot of Monte Carlo, this is how the aquarium was looking. Over the course of the next couple weeks, I added some additional plants, including hydrocodal tripartita mini, Ricardia camidrifolia, bucephalandra, and some more dwarf hairgrass and dwarf baby tears. Despite having a huge colony of springtails in the soil, I was finding that I was having a lot of mold crop up. I tried resolving it by adding a fan to create airflow, and this didn't seem to help a whole lot. So I thought that isopods might add an extra mold-eating boost. You may think I gave these insects I collected a bad day, but it was much worse for the ones not in the baggie. I added the isopods to their new world and found that they liked eating the Ricardia moss a lot more than the mold. I decided at this point that it'd be best to just give up on my fight with the mold and fill up the aquarium. I added a few final touches as I prepared to flood the tank. I added some cool sandy features, and I added a forest of stem plants in the back. The stem plants can't really survive the dry start process, so they had to be added here last. I filled, drained, and refilled the aquarium to remove excess nutrients. Then I tried to save as many isopods as I could. After just a day, the water parameters were perfect for adding fish and shrimp. I found that the stock filter tubes for my filter were too distracting, so I finished out the build by adding some glass tubes.
Hey. Uh-oh. That's not good.
If you liked the modules that I used in this video and would like to add them to a setup of your own, I'll actually be selling them on the UNDR website, so go check those out. I'm planning to give the first few away for free in exchange for product feedback. In the meantime, I hope you enjoy seeing this final result. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed seeing this aquascape build. Even though I was really proud with this aquarium and how it turned out, I kept feeling like there was just something missing. It took weeks of me viewing the aquascape to finally figure out what it was.